All right, guys, it is time to get serious about firewood for two reasons, and I'm excited about both of those, and they both have a story to tell. Now, one of them, I'm going to be trying to teach something that maybe some of you don't know or might be asking me about. And the second one, I'm hoping that you guys can give me some insight the way you normally do. So, story number one is a business proposition I gave to my son, who's very motivated and hardworking and detail oriented. And I proposed to him about 6 months ago, right before he graduated high school, that he use the equipment I have to jumpstart himself into a firewood business. And he could start off just using my equipment and doing all the work, doing all the selling, doing everything himself, but have a big head start on anyone else who was his age and wanted to do the same thing. Because I cut quite a bit of firewood every year, but not enough to really call it a business. Now, at the time, my son did not respond to that. But now he's about a month into his freshman year of college. He saved all the money and paid cash for his first year's college education. He's got a job and he's doing 19 credit hours. And he sends me a message and he said, "Dad, I'm all in. I want to do the firewood and I'm serious about it." And so the last week, he and I have spent a ton of time out here. And if you've ever had a small business, I've had a few of them that were successful on different levels. And then you find out your kids want to get out and be part of what you're doing. It's very exciting. So the last week I've spent with him teaching him about firewood, and he's putting in the work. Now I'm hoping after he's done this a little while, he'll get on camera with me and tell his experience starting this up. But for now, I just want to talk a little bit about how he's starting his business and what that experience has been like for me trying to teach him. So in case you're new here, this is the Power Split International vertical splitter. This is a phenomenal machine for big rounds. It's got the log lift, which is going to lift anything that will fit on it. It's a great splitter, and these splitters allow you to do precision size cutting firewood. You can take a big round and split it into pieces the size of kindling if you want, and that's great for bundle wood. So this is one machine that he's got access to. The other is the Easton Made Ultra. Now both of these have incredibly fast cycle times. This is a 5-second cycle time. And for reference, I had another commercial splitter here yesterday that had a 14-second cycle time. So this can split 3 times while a homeowner splitter is making 1 cycle. And that one with the 14-second cycle time was actually a commercial splitter. Now with the Easton Made Ultra, it's a 4-second cycle time and it has a 4-way wedge. Now some people ask me why I don't put a 4-way wedge on this or make my own. Well, you can get a 4-way wedge on this, but I don't know anyone with a vertical splitter who uses a 4-way wedge because it takes away from the big advantage of being able to split it into precise size firewood. And it depends, some people care about that, some don't. But my son's going to try doing some bundle wood. So the Easton Made Ultra has a 4-way wedge or a 2-way wedge, and it's super fast. It's got a nice table on it, and the only thing it's missing as a commercial splitter is a log lift. But that allows you to split off both sides. So the setup I've built is this log deck where you can set your logs up here. You can put 3 or 4 logs up, slice those into rounds, and then very conveniently load your firewood right here. It makes for a very quick process. Now it's a very interesting thing as a parent. Any of you guys who have kids know what I'm talking about. Like you teach them to drive, then for the next several years, I don't know if it goes your whole life, but it goes a while, that every time they call you, you're like they're in an accident. You're worried that they've just had a car accident. Now we've got this idea that I think it would be great experience for my son to start a firewood business. But the idea of him having no experience with anything like this, all of a sudden coming out here by himself and running a chainsaw, it's nerve-wracking for me when I know he's out here working. And so, of course, I went through all of the safety stuff as well as I could. So what that means is you're trying to give the best, most thorough safety lesson you can give. I chose a middle-sized chainsaw. This is a Stihl MS-250 that has enough power that he's not going to be sitting there lugging on it forever, but it's still lightweight and easy for him to handle and feel comfortable with. Then we got a brand new chain. Actually, before that, I got an old chain that was all beat up, and I taught him how to sharpen. And he sharpened that chain and had it cutting pretty good, but it was so old and worn, and the teeth were kind of missing pieces that to really sharpen it good, we would have had to take it down a long way. So I started him off with a brand new chain, and I said, now you know how to sharpen, you're going to keep this chain sharp and keep working it. And we spent an entire night just learning how to sharpen a chain. Before he'd ever started a saw, he learned how to sharpen a chain. Then I taught him that you only want to cut with this part of the bar right here. Talked about how letting the end contact the wood causes kickback. And we started off only cutting on a bucking table where the forces are kind of isolated. It can't roll towards you, all of those types of things. And you know, you're not running into nearly as much tension and compression in the wood as you would something you just cut down. And, you know, I taught him that you can sit here and run a saw and run a saw and run a saw, and it's fine. And as soon as you relax, that's when it can kick back at you. So you need to mentally be always engaged in the fact that you're using this to protect yourself from kickback, and that the chain brake is not just something that's there for no reason. I mean, you guys understand how it works. If this kicks back, you're going to accidentally push that in. So I taught him about always using the chain brake, always cutting with this part of the saw. And I've been so proud that I've been getting up at 8 in the morning and having my breakfast and coming out to the shop like I always do. And I'll be sitting in the shop, and some mornings I hear a chainsaw running around the time I'm still having my coffee, and that gives me a good feeling. Now also, some mornings he has to be at school really early, and he'll come out here at 9, 10 p.m. because we have a well-lit, fully covered wood yard. So he's starting out with all the advantages, but he's still going to have to put in the work. So this week I taught him how to put a grapple on a tractor and take it off, how to put a grapple on the mini skid and take it off, how to load a log with forks, how to move totes with forks when the totes are almost at the lift capacity on the mini skid. I've taught him all of this stuff that it just warms my heart that no matter where he goes in life, he's 19 years old, just turned 19. He's got a certain skill set behind him now. So this week, he's learned everything I could teach him pretty much about this part of firewood, how to use each splitter, how to use a chainsaw, how to measure wood, what is a cord, how much wood fits in a tote, how heavy are the totes, how to contact customers. In that time, with all that teaching, he's split one tote here, one tote there, and this tote is odds and ends pieces that most people don't want, but I will use, or you can sell for less. It looks like he actually kind of raked up a bunch of the bark and stuff off the floor. And he's raked up some more of it here. So we'll have to talk about best way to dispose of that. So why am I telling this story? Well, I think some of you who follow along might be interested in just a personal story about my family. But beyond that, I get a lot of messages asking me, like, I want to sell firewood. I want to do tractor work. I want to start a business with a skid steer. How do I find jobs? And I get that message actually a lot. And I thought I could share some information on that. So the first thing you want to do is create a Facebook business page where someone can search Firewood, and if they are local to you, your page comes up. That's step one. It's not that hard. There is, within your personal profile, when you click on the Facebook button, it gives you an option to create a new account, basically as a business page. And from there, you just put in what you do and the basic information. People will find you that way. It may take time, but that's step one. Step two is to go on Marketplace and create a listing for whatever it is that you are doing. Whether that's the firewood, or you're doing chain sharpening, or you're doing bush hogging with your tractor. You want to create those listings on Marketplace, and those will get you jobs. Now, what a lot of people that I talk to have not caught on to is create a Google My Business listing. So within Google, there you can type in the search bar Google My Business, and it will create almost like your spot in the phone book. When someone searches firewood near me, your listing will pop up and it can have your phone number. And I've got to go back into my settings because I haven't mowed yards for hire in 4 or 5 years, and I get messages all the time from the people who Googled lawn care and are finding my listing and wanting to hire me. So that's a great way to get business. And the next thing is think about who your customer is, and think about, especially in a small town, are there local places that they shop that will allow you to put a sign up? And it actually works fairly well. We have a small town hardware store with a bulletin board. Farmers Co-op, places like that. Will they let you put a sign up? And with something like Firewood, once you find a few customers, they will come back to you every year over and over again if you just treat them right. So I can't tell you how excited I am that my son wants to do firewood. Now, when I was a young man, I know what would have happened. I would have come up with this idea, got enthusiastic about it, did it for 2 weeks, and then quit. I think he's a different type of guy, and I think he's going to stick with this. And I hope we process a lot of firewood. But that's not the only reason or the only thing I wanted to talk about in this video. So before he came up with this, I was still cutting firewood, and I would sell 5 or 6 cord of firewood a year. And I was already thinking, this equipment's so nice, I might try to do 10 or 15 cords this year. So this winter, I sold all the firewood I had, but I kept cutting firewood through the spring. And down here, I've got 3 cords of seasoned dry firewood. Now, that brings me to another point about firewood. Some people are going to say, is he selling that firewood that he just cut? And yes, he is. So in our area, a lot of people like to buy green firewood. If you only go on YouTube and read the comments, you would think that no one has ever burned a stick of green firewood, that you can only burn perfectly dry oak. Well, around here, a lot of people have big wood boilers, and they like huge chunks of half green firewood. So the biggest thing with green wood that I tell people is, if you tell people exactly what you have, they can make their own decisions. You say, we are currently out of seasoned firewood. What we have is green. If you want to buy it, here's the price. Some people will want to buy it green, and some don't, but you've told them up front. So now let's go up in the shop and tell you the second reason for this video. So earlier this week, I posted a video about the fact that my central heat and air unit burnt up the heat exchange unit. And I now have this 30 by 50 shop that is supposed to be heated and cooled, and actually kind of needs to be heated and cooled, among other reasons, besides the fact I work in here a lot. I have my second hobby, which is fish keeping, and I actually have a YouTube channel about my aquariums. But I have these guys in here, and really, the building needs to be heated for me, but it also needs to be heated because I've got that going on. So I put in an electric heater, and the comments were telling me that that heater was not sufficient for this building because more that it should be used intermittently, that continuous use of it could be a fire hazard. And besides that, the heater was free to me, but it would be very expensive to run. So I've been looking at some cost analysis, and I decided that it would be cost justified for me to buy a wood stove. And I got this wood stove right here on Marketplace for $400, and I drove 2.5 hours to get it. Now, why did I do that? It's not that great of a price. The reason I did it is because it came with almost all of the pipe I need, and this pipe's very expensive. So we've got 2 pieces of triple wall pipe, and those pieces of pipe are about $130 each. And we've got 2 of those, and we've got straight pipe. We have the box that is used to pass it through the wall, or I mean through the ceiling. We have the rain cap right here, a nice rain cap with a wire guard on it. Then we have the stove, we have some straight pipe, and we have this heat shield. So all of that makes for a ton of value. And I already have the wood, and I kind of already do the wood as a hobby. And for how cheap wood is around here, I think it's going to save me money buying the wood stove as opposed to paying for that to run that electric heater. I think the utility bills would cost more than the wood and the heater and the stove. So I mostly think I have my plan in place. I've got the wrong flange. It's a little bit too small a diameter. I think this flange is meant for double wall pipe, and I have triple wall. But basically, the plan is this goes through the roof of the shop. You can see where they sealed the top to the flange. Then you'll have a flange and a drip rail on that. Then this will come down through the roof into the ceiling, and this box right here goes into the ceiling. So my ceiling will be right here, and this box will attach to the joist, and that'll space me out away. My only concern I have left is that I'm not sure about putting single wall into this that's only 12 inches from my ceiling when I think I need to be 18-inch removed. So I think I need to find some double wall pipe that will go into this box and keep my hotter single wall pipe further away. I think the single wall pipe gets so hot, I don't think I want it this close to my foam insulated ceiling. As you can see up here, I have sheet foam on the ceiling as insulation, and I don't want to melt that stuff. So I think the only thing I need is some double wall that will fit into this straight section, because triple wall won't go in there. Because if you look at the triple wall, this ring is flush with this ring. So as I'm looking up the installation requirements, it says 36 inches from the wall to the stove. I think I'm going to go with 42, 48 inches maybe. I'm going to come out further than it tells me I have to. I've got enough pipe to get that up through the ceiling. I think I understand how to do the flanges. My only concern is how I handle getting that single wall pipe away from the ceiling. But other than that, I'm excited for the change, and I'll have an installation video coming out soon putting in that wood stove. So I appreciate you taking time to watch this video. I'll put links on the screen to a couple more of our videos, and I'll see you next time.